Shadowverse.
Hello everyone. So today we're going to do a bit of a meta decklist review. At the same time, I'm going to share my thoughts on this meta decklist, how I formed this meta decklist basically. So for those who do not know, Shintoverse is created by me, and this meta decklist is created by me as well. So Shintoverse, what I do here is basically I share Meta Snapshot, articles of Meta Snapshot, and Meta Decklist by me, and maybe future any other content related content related to Shadowverse Evolve. I'll be sharing it here as well. So if you guys are interested, I'll put the website link in the description below. So let's go back to the meta deck list and let's look into it. So I've updated the Black Silver Bahamut meta deck list recently, and I've changed the way how I categorize deck. So the way I categorize deck right now, there's tier 0, tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. So tier 0 and tier 1 is essentially the same, just that the only difference is tier 0, there's only one deck that is dominating the meta. Tier 1 is there's a few decks that's dominating the meta as of now. Okay, so when I say dominating the meta, I mean that this deck are forcing others deck to play around them, and they have very high win rate. Yeah. And then tier 2 are decks that are viable. They might not be winning the most of their matchup, however, they are winning most of their matchup. Yeah, they are not winning the most, but they are winning most of their matchup. Yeah. So in a sense, you can say tier 2 are just viable decks in the meta if you want to win. And tier 3 are decks that I think that requires, in my opinion, needs more support or more time to tune to be as strong as tier 2. So these decks are not viable if you want to win. However, you want to have fun. Yeah, these decks are still quite okay. So I would like to add that all the decks are not arranged in an order of ranking, only categorized in tier. And for tier 3, there's no deck list because I kind of feel there's no need to, because I wish not to confuse people. That all these decks are not say playable, so only up to tier 2 I will add that list, because I think these decks are playable in the current meta. Tier 3, there are some playable deck, however, yeah, they're just very hard to win in my opinion. Yes, so this is why tier 3 I will not be giving any deck list, and most of the deck lists will be just deck skeletons. They are not the best iteration of the decks as of now, especially when the meta progress. So all these tier lists I will update once in a while. So for you guys, just check the bottom when you were last updated to know how updated the list is. And at the same time, please note that this is a small project by me. This Shintoverse is a small project by me and me alone. So I only have limited way of gathering information. I'm only looking at Japan and Singapore meta as of now. So yeah, my tier list might not reflect the meta accurately. And all these are solely my opinion. Alright. So let's move on to tier 1. So for tier 1, we do have Ram Control Dragon and mid-range Neonite Sword. So I think there's no need to argue that Neonite Sword is one of the strongest deck right now. A bit of history would be that I think for the first few days of Black Silver Bahamut, mid-range Neonite Sword, some would say is tier 0. However, at the end of week 1, Ram Control Dragon starts to take the top spot in most of the shops competition, even here in Singapore. And I think it's because everybody starts to play around Leonidas. I mean, given that it is the deck to beat. And however, I put Ram Control Dragon as tier 1 because, first of all, they are forcing Leonidas to play around them, because they do have access to very strong amulet remover. Firstly, Bahamut, they are able to play Bahamut very easily. At the same time, they are playing 2-3 execution just to deal with Leonidas Resolve. So that's one reason why I put Ram Control Dragon in tier 1. Another reason for me to put Ram Control Dragon in tier 1 was because out of all the control deck, Dragon is probably one of the strongest control deck out there right now. Because they play Dark Dragon Forte, and the ability to run is insane in the control deck. So Dark Dragon Forte is a card that caused a lot of decks needing to play Ward, a lot of control deck to play Ward especially, because she can just outright win a game out of nowhere. Because she got aura, meaning that opponent are not able to target her when she comes into play, and swinging for Evolve swinging for 7 into face is actually very, very scary. That's almost 1/3 of the health gone. And aggro have to deal with Shenlong, because they need to play around Shenlong. It has been one of the stronger cards during the first expansion, Dawn of Genesis. So a lot of aggro deck do have to play removal just to deal with the Shenlong ward, at the same time the heal 5. So with that in mind, I push Ram Control Dragon back to tier 1. And this brings mid-range Leonidas Sword back to down to tier 1 for now. I think Leonidas Sword will not be moving anywhere as of now. If only it will be moving up. I don't think it will be going down, because it's still forcing people to play around them. So yeah, that's all for tier 1. Okay, next we have tier 2. So let's start off with OTK Dimension Shift Rune, something very familiar since Dawn of Genesis. So this Shift Rune has been meta since Dawn of Genesis. However, it did reduce in popularity at the last week of Dawn of Genesis, especially here in Singapore. So it's not they are not strong, however, they can be inconsistent at times, especially when the game starts to get shorter and shorter. And with the introduction of mid-range Leonidas Sword, they are starting to have less time to set up for their OTK combo. And yeah, even though with that said, Dimension Shift is not weakened. It's actually if anything, it became stronger. Because with the introduction of Craig, the Mysterious Rune, is it? Sorry, give me a moment. Craig, Wizard of Mysteria. They got another discard outlet. Basically, you'll be playing Craig, Wizard of Mysteria and the Penguin to discard. So this will help you to build out spell in your graveyard to help increase the spell chain counter. Alright, so in fact, anything, it got stronger. However, it didn't get strong enough to be the top deck, unfortunately. However, it is still a deck to look out for. And also the same, Control Forest. Control Forest was quite surprisingly strong in Dawn of Genesis, but very, very hard to pilot. And Japan did have very, very good result with Control Forest, especially during the last month of Dawn of Genesis. And at the same time, I think at the start of the second week of Black Silver Bahamut, Control Forest was dominating the scene as well. Yeah. So Control Forest, despite being hard to pilot, the win con is actually quite hard to answer. As long as your deck do not have access to heal, you might not be able to live through the Dawn Burst. Yeah. So Control Forest is as tier 2 because it is winning a lot of matches as well. So next, we have 3 aggro decks. So Aggro Nightmare, Aggro Banner Sword, and something new, Aggro Discard Dragon. Alright, so let's go. Aggro Nightmare and Aggro Banner Sword are still strong because if the deck are not prepared to deal with aggro decks, they might outright lose to these decks. Especially with Aggro Nightmare, there's introduction of Death Dance. Is it Death Dance? Let me double check. Dance of Death, sorry. With the introduction of Dance of Death, they finally got their wish of having another removal other than Spectral and dealing damage at the same time. Yeah, so Dance of Death has been a good introduction for aggro deck. At the same time, aggro Banner Sword, Dance of Death, and at the same time, we have Albert. So it makes the deck more consistent on their turn 4. I mean, they give aggro Banner Sword alternative play on turn 4 other than just Banner. They are able to play Albert as well, which acts almost like a banner given that it gives 3 attacks on the board as well. Yeah. So with that, aggro banner and aggro nightmare has been said. Aggro discard dragon. Alright, so this deck happens to get pretty popular in Japan during the mid of second week. Yes, mid of second week. This card aggro dragon basically plays around their amulet as well. Dragomancer, right? They play a aggro deck that can have sustained damage, yes, in a way, given that if they discard a card at the end of the turn, they can shoot 2 damage to either a follower or to enemy's leader. So it makes them able to play a much more longer fight for aggro. And they're also playing Ivory Dragon with Mushushu as early aggro, great aggression cards with Ivory Dragon on turn 1, Mushushu on turn 2, and then evolving the Ivory Dragon to buff Mushushu's attack. And if they are able to drop Wild Fang Dragon Newt, it is a plus for them because it will cost 1 mana. So they can build out the board significantly quite fast during the first few turns. And this is why I put on tier 2 because it has been winning tournaments in Japan, and yeah, people are winning a lot of the matchup with aggro discard dragon. And then next, control Aegis Haven and control Amulet Haven. So essentially these two are the same deck. These two are the same deck. The only difference is that how they win. So control Aegis Haven wins by Aegis, Heavenly Aegis, and Amulet Control Haven wins by out resourcing with Holy Sentinel and Skullfane. So in terms of easier to pilot, Aegis seems to be the easiest to pilot because Aegis is a threat himself which doesn't need any support. Meanwhile, Holy Sentinel and Skullfane, they kind of requires all your other cards to be Amulet to be played properly, or not, you might not be able to control the board well. However, the reason why I put these two into tier 2 is because I've seen control Amulet Haven, the power of it, and at the same time, I do see control Aegis Haven doing very well in Japan right now. Alright, so in the last week of week 2, Haven have increased in popularity, and I would say Aegis are the most played of the two right now in Japan. And the reason why is because they do have natural counter to Leonidas with Banish. So Blacken, Scripture, and Acrolyte's Light, they are very good answers to Leonidas, and that's the reason why they have been increased in popularity. And also they play enough heal to deal with aggro discard dragon, who got popular during the mid of week 2. So recently they have risen to popularity, and this is why I put them in tier 2. I mean, they have been doing very, very well in Japan as of now. And for tier 3, so these are the decks that I think they're hard to win or are basically just not doing well in general. So first of all, Dirt Rune. Haven't seen much representation in Japan. Over here in Singapore, there is one player still playing Dirt Rune. However, the feedback kind of get from him and the way he plays that it's quite hard to win against all the other decks as for now. Against aggro, he is still winning. However, against all the other control decks and mid-range Leonidas, they are having a bit of issue. Control Nightmare is a fun deck. It's a pretty interesting deck, not gonna lie. I wouldn't say it's fun, but it's pretty interesting. So the deck focus on your opponent playing dragon and healing from healing their dragon, and their combo is to Azazel, and then they tried the next turn they tried to kill the opponent with every burn spell, every storm follower they have, which makes this win the way they win very unreliable. Rose Dragon is a meme deck and will be a meme deck, especially right now when everybody's playing Amulet Remover. You drop Rooster, Phoenix Rooster, your opponent just gonna execute it the next turn once they get a free follower. Burn Spellchain Direct is something I hope to see more of. However, as of now, there isn't any representation both in Singapore and Japan winning tournaments. Yeah, and I guess it's because of how the deck is in right now. That's the way spell chain works. It still takes time to build up, and at the same time, you still want to play enough burn spell to kill your opponent. But however, it's uh quite hard to balance these two cards in your deck. These two types of cards in your deck for now. So hopefully we see more of this, or maybe the support ain't enough, so maybe next season we see more Daria. And then lastly, mid-range Elena Haven. It is playable, but they do not have a good game ender. And at the same time, in terms of Amulet, it's actually losing out a lot compared to Leonidas Sword in terms of buff. And in a metaphor execution, they do have difficulty trying to win games. Yeah. So this is why I put Elena Haven as tier 3. So there are some other decks, but they are either decks that people have an idea of and not feasible at all. So I won't be adding them. Hopefully I did not miss out any deck. So like I say again, this tier list is based solely on my opinion from the information I've gathered. I do have limitation on how I gather this information, so they might not accurately reflect what is the current meta. And if that's the case, don't be too harsh on me. Please, I'm just a random guy just doing all this, and at the same time, just use this with a pinch of salt, I guess. These are basically some small projects from me from time to time. With that, again, so this is my side project Shintoverse, and I'll be posting monthly meta snapshot of our meta in Singapore, and I'll be updating meta deck lists from time to time. I might come up with other content depending on I have the time or not. So if you're interested, please click the link below and have a visit, have a good read. That would be much appreciated, and like and subscribe. With that, thanks you guys for watching, and see you guys next time.